Hi dancers, Kelly here with my last video of 2020. This has been such a bizarre year, and part of me is like, wow, how is it already December? And another part of me has been thinking this year has dragged on and on and on. So here we are at the end of this year, and I wanted to share some quick thoughts with you on this week of lots of holidays. As some of you may know, my degrees are in comparative religion with a focus on ritual studies, meaning that I have spent many hours and years of my life studying religious practices from religions around the world. Now, one thing that I find interesting about this time of year, and I'm not going to get into too much detail about this, but one thing I find interesting about this time of year is how many major religious holidays use some form of light to celebrate. So, for example, the Elvis Christmas tree here in the background. Christmas uses a lot of lights. People decorate their homes. They have Advent wreaths. Hanukkah, which just finished up last week, uses the menorah, which talks about light, and the whole holiday is about a celebration of this miraculous oil that appeared in these lamps so that the lights could continue to glow. We had Yule yesterday. Happy belated Yule to all of you who celebrate that. And that holiday celebrates the return of the sun, S-U-N, the rebirth of the sun on that shortest day of the year, and as the sun continues to grow and the days get longer. Christianity celebrates also the return of the sun, but an S-O-N of God, who is often referred to as the light of the world. And when we think about the next holiday on the list, which is Kwanzaa, which starts on the 26th, that holiday doesn't specifically talk about light in any of the 7 principles, but it does use candles to celebrate. So we have lots of holidays that use light. And I think that's really relevant at this time of year, specifically for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. I know those of you in the Southern Hemisphere are like, Kelly, it's summer down here. I know, bear with me for my metaphor here. So this time of year, we think about darkness turning into light. And I think that's one of the things that for me has been really relevant as I think about 2020. It has been a really tough year, and some folks have been dealing with significant challenges and struggles this year. For some folks, it hasn't been as difficult of a year. But I think a lot of us have experienced a lot of darkness in this past year, whatever that may look like, in our home lives, in our work life, in our health, in the health of our loved ones, in our dance. There are so many different ways that 2020 has been just a really challenging year. And while I know that flipping that calendar over to 2021 is not going to magically just make all of our problems go away. I know that. But it can be a good time for us to use this idea of turning darkness into light, to think about the lessons that we have perhaps learned during 2020. So the podcast episode that is going out this week is a little bit different from my normal format of podcasts. This one is more of like a coaching session that I do with my clients when I'm helping them to sort of think through things and process things and reframe things for themselves. So this episode is specifically about looking at the difficulties and challenges that we dealt with in 2020, looking at the lessons that we perhaps learned about ourselves during that time, and utilizing those lessons that we've learned to make a brighter and lighter 2021 for ourselves. So I would encourage you to subscribe to Belly Dance Alchemy podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and sit down, grab a cup of hot chocolate, put some peppermint schnapps in it if you want. You can thank me later. Grab a journal or a notebook and a pen, and let's sit down and think through some of this and process some of this together, because I know I'm still processing a lot of lessons that I have started to study and learn about myself in 2020. So that episode is going live this week. I hope that those of you who celebrated Hanukkah had a wonderful Hanukkah. Those of you who celebrate Yule had a blessed Yule yesterday. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate Kwanzaa. If you don't celebrate any holidays at this time of year, happy no holidays. Go eat a cookie anyway. And I hope that you all have a wonderful, joyous, and inspired New Year's. I will talk to you in 2021.